chance to digest before we sit down and go over everything and make that a more productive meeting. So, that's our update. More than happy to answer questions.
Thank you. I got a couple questions. Intermittent curb and gutter. Explain that to me. What does that mean?
Yeah, that option wasn't meant to say that we're going to look at an alternative of curb and gutter through the entire project.
Okay.
But there are, as everyone knows, is driven on lots of trees. There may be intermittent locations where a cluster of trees could be protected with constructing a shorter section of curb and gutter, maybe outletting back into the ditch.
Okay.
That was intermittent. I don't have a quantity for that, but.
Okay. The other one was with the retaining wall. I have a couple questions. Do they make them pleasing to the eye? How long do they last, and how do we maintain it, and how does that affect snowplow?
All very good questions. Really the technology that's out there for retaining walls, there's a lot of different types, and it's all dependent on the types of soils and everything that we have out there. So we haven't completed the soil analysis for that yet. We want to establish if we do need walls or if that's something we're going to implement. But then, yeah, there's lots of different aesthetic treatments and stuff like that we can do. And from a maintenance standpoint, we've got retaining walls on our system now. They're really, they're designed to last and not maintain and not forever, but as long as we can reasonably with the costs that we're incurring, make those. But yeah, it's all about balancing the impacts. They are significantly more expensive, but if we can utilize that in an area, key area or two to reduce the impacts, that's what we're looking at.
Okay. And how about plowing? I mean, right now they're sloped, so I would imagine.
Yeah, plowing, with any retaining wall, we always try to build some sort of shelf or something so we have a spot for the snow to go. So that's what we would look to incorporate here. With the retaining walls, you have a couple different options, be it the barrier curb and build some sort of crash wall into the retaining wall versus guardrail, and you just kind of evaluate all that against the impacts. But yeah, we got to have some room to throw the snow so it doesn't bounce off the wall and come back into the road.
Did anybody else have any other questions? I guess mine then is going to be more to the process than necessarily where you are. When you talked about some of the discussions with identifying the problems with the roadway, overall, would you say the CAG had some consensus on identifying those problems? So if you have 15 people sitting in a room and you identify 9 problems, if they're going to challenge you on 6 of those, at least there's the rest of them that there's some agreement on, and then we could be moving forward to identifying solutions to those. Would you say overall, from being part of the process, not in the second one, are we heading in that direction?
We haven't, we're kind of in between that. I think, we've identified spot locations of where the problems are. That's what part of this next CAG. We spent the last CAG talking a lot about design criteria and types of problems, so that at this next meeting, we can kind of make use of the time to say, all right, here are the problems, and then here's our toolbox of some of the alternatives that we've already talked about and kind of mesh those two together. So, as part of the materials for the next CAG, we'll be sending out hopefully a map or something that can give everybody an idea of where all of those areas are, because now we're into that detail, looking at it cross section by cross section. So
and
from a consensus standpoint, I think the consensus really is going to come based on how we're able to mitigate for those problems, and if the mitigation is 0 impact or very little impact, then consensus will be easier than a problem whose impact or the solution to the impact has a larger impact or an undesirable one from.
Or a problem that we can't get agreement on if we're not going to, if they don't see it as a problem or the same problem that we do, there might be some challenge in that.
Yes.
So in the process again, we're kind of nearing the end of the Citizens Advisory Group portion of it. There might be, it sounds like the next meeting will be very important if we're working on identifying the problem areas, and then we're identifying the tools to address those problem areas. Then maybe one more follow-up one after that.
Yeah, really what we want to do is, we've always wanted to use the CAG as a mechanism to get us to that next public meeting, so we can let everyone see what we've worked on. And we've been using the CAG so that we're not totally off base, or that we've tried to think of everything that reasonably we can expect will be questions, pull all that input back together, and yes, then work with the CAG again on the ultimate preferred solution, taking into account, all of the feedback that we got, not only from the CAG, but from all of the rest of the public as well.
So the public meeting or hearing is in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, that'll be hopefully after our next.
Sure.
Our rough schedule is that we'd have a CAG, probably December, and then a public meeting, and then another CAG to kind of talk about the public meeting, and then a public hearing,
Okay.
and then that's
Yes.
kind of our track right now to get to the end.
All right, exciting, thank you. Ms. Hanson?
Yeah, I have a question. Is there an acknowledgement of some of the people at the table of some of these issues that you have identified as far as the road? And is there some kind of acceptance with some or a consensus, maybe would be a better word, and resolution? And I mean, I think Anna Mae was asking the question, but I don't know, is it an effort that is, people are moving together towards the solution instead of it being in segments? You see what I'm saying?
I think there's an acknowledgement of some of the issues, and like I said, we're working on, bringing that forward in a big thing that everybody can get their arms wrapped around. As far as a consensus on what to do about those issues, or if there are issues that the DOT should be addressing as part of this project, no, I don't think we have consensus on that. That's part of our goal, is to try and build that up throughout this project and educate the CAG and educate the public on the issues and why we're looking at what we're looking at, and hopefully at the end we'll have that.